Hi, I'm Marina, and I'm pro-choice.
And I'm Emily Zaplak, and I'm pro-life.
A young woman named Lauren from Colorado shared her story, and these are her words. Although I always thought it was a woman's right to choose, I honestly thought if I got pregnant, I'd find a way to make it work. All that changed. My boyfriend terrorized me. At some point, I decided it was safer to have him in my life than cut him out. But when I got pregnant, I knew right away I didn't want a lifelong connection to that person. I was right. When we broke up, he saw my clothes in half and poured corn syrup in my gas tank. During the ultrasound, I shouted, "We are not keeping it." It was a way of not acknowledging the life form. When I went to the clinic, there were protesters with awful, very graphic signs. I felt their judgment. Other experiences changed me more. This year, I had another D&C after I miscarried, and it's amazing how much I mourned that pregnancy. The same experience can be so different when you're in a different place in life. You see, early termination of a pregnancy is a dreadful thing, and we want to keep the number of terminations to the lowest possible. No one is for terminations. However, I support the right of a woman to exercise this control over her body, because it is not the place of the state to choose this most personal of decisions to a woman. An unwanted pregnancy is the last thing any woman would want to go through, and making a decision to terminate is a hard and extremely emotional. As for rape, imagine you had a child, which was a product of rape, going around for 9 months, pregnant and having everyone walk up to you excited and smiling. Then when no smile comes to your face, you have to explain to every single person that you were raped, relieving the agony of the trauma repeatedly. Also, if we ban abortion, then people will hurt themselves doing it illegally. Ultimately, we should be focusing on having informational sex education to teach people how to avoid these situations by using condoms and other means. That's where the government belongs, providing good educational material, better choices and options to young people so they never have to contemplate a termination.
It is understandable that a woman should have the right to have control over her own body. However, if this is the case, then a woman could easily have avoided this ahead of time by not counting on abortion as her type of birth control. There are many different types of contraceptives, including abstinence. If the woman were to not choose to be abstinent, she could have easily chosen one out of the about 15 other types of birth controls. Some of these contraceptives include the birth control pill, IUDs, NuvaRing, or a patch which is known as the Ortho Evra, or condoms for males or females. These are only a few of the different types of birth controls that are available. Even if the woman were to not be on any type of birth control, there is even another option before abortion, which is the Plan B pill. This pill is an emergency contraception and is the backup for regular birth control. Plan B is known to work best up to 72 hours after unprotected sex, but may work up to 5 days later. This gives the woman plenty of time to get the pill in order to avoid a pregnancy since it is obviously so unwanted. J.K. Rowling once said, "We're all human, aren't we? Every human life is worth the same and worth saving." The argument determining whether or not abortion should be legal has been going on for a long period of time. There are many factors that play a role in this debate, such as religion, taxes, psychological damage, and of course, the argument over whether life begins at the time of conception. Although there are very good arguments both ways, I am pro-life for several reasons. After researching my side of the debate, I have come to realize that one of my main reasons is because of the psychological damage it leaves for the parents, especially the mother, whether they think they will suffer from it or not. For example, one mother that had an abortion later said, "Please understand the horror of getting an abortion. It's not a procedure to fix an illness, it's to end a life. It's not all going to go away. You will think about it for the rest of your life. It will haunt you. It's not a perfect solution or fix. what you will be left with is far worse than any fear of motherhood. It's not a way out. Another woman that had an abortion also said, I'm living proof that you should never get an abortion. Every time someone dies or I see a couple struggling to become pregnant, I'm reminded of how precious life is. If I can offer one bit of advice to a younger woman in a similar situation to mine, it's to not have an abortion. You'll regret it the rest of your life, just like I have. I feel that these quotes are a good way to summarize the feelings that most mothers that aborted have to deal with after their abortion. Besides research on the internet, I've heard quite a few personal stories about the effects of abortion or how glad they were that they backed out. There was a time that I believed that I could be pro-choice until I did research on what abortion actually entailed and saw for myself what a baby looks like at different gestations, realizing that at only 7 weeks the baby has already fingers and toes. A majority of the time, those that believe in abortion think that the fetus is a group of cells, when in actuality, the fetus has arm buds and a heartbeat as early as 7 weeks. Aside from the baby's physical development, he or she is also able to completely feel excruciating pain throughout the procedure. An abortion doctor named Bernard Nathanson proved that the fetus could feel pain when he performed an ultrasound during an abortion, and in one of the images, the fetus's mouth was wide open in a silent scream, which he says is the silent scream of a child threatened imminently with extinction. It seems as if some mothers that have abortions use it as a form of birth control. This is by having repeated abortions month after month. This is not only damaging psychologically or emotionally, but also physically. Some of these physical dangers include the mother getting infection, hemorrhaging, loss of fertility, cervical incompetence, or even death. The loss of fertility is a result of either scarring of the reproductive system or damage to the cervix, thus causing the inability to carry or continue a future desired pregnancy. Aside from the physical risks and emotional trauma caused by abortions, many religions around the world believe that abortion is killing another human being because of the belief that life begins at the time of conception, which would mean that they are a human being with the right to life, just like the rest of us. In many states, mothers may have late-term abortions, which is in any pregnancy beyond 20 weeks and often up to 27 weeks gestation. This is well beyond the age an infant can survive if he or she was delivered. Babies at 27 weeks can be up to 2 or 2.5 pounds. Oftentimes, mothers have abortions because they believe that it is their only option. However, there are other alternatives such as adoption or taking responsibility of your own actions and becoming a responsible mother. One of the most selfless things a woman could do is giving her baby up for adoption and allowing another woman to be the mother she has always dreamt of being.
I understand that abortion can have a variety of effects on a woman's mind, but I believe it is the woman who should be able to work through it, and most women who let their past abortion give them psychological problems are the ones who are not trying to work and deal through it, and it is generally the woman's fault for keeping her feelings to herself rather than the abortion itself. Also, if it is really the killing of a person, then how come this fetus has no rights stated in the law yet? A fetus cannot survive on its own. It is fully dependent on its mother's body, unlike born human beings. Even if a fetus was alive, the right to life doesn't imply a right to use somebody else's body. People have the right to refuse to donate their organs, for example, even if doing so would save somebody else's life. I'd argue that if a mother knows she won't be able to provide for her child, it is more responsible to have an abortion in doing so. Prevent a whole lot of undue suffering and misery. Also, in cases of rape, why is it socially acceptable to have an abortion? Are the lives of children who were conceived by rape worthless than the lives of children who are willing to be conceived? If preserving the life of the child takes priority over the desire of the mother, then it shouldn't matter how that life was conceived. Your moral stance depends on what you think is being aborted. If you don't believe it to be a person but part of a woman's body, of course you will be pro-choice. and that was said by Louise Mensch. Abortion is terminating a pregnancy, not killing a baby. Abortion is used as only a last resort and is usually a result of rape, incest, or a danger to the mother's life. A woman must have the right to terminate her pregnancy because of these widespread problems. If safe and legal abortions are not available, women will be pushed to dangerous back alley abortions, resulting in injury and even death. Abortion is a matter of an individual choice. No one can say with assurance when a fetus becomes a person. The unborn is just a clump of tissue, so abortion is terminating a pregnancy, not killing a baby.
When a human life begins is strictly a scientific issue, not a religious, moral, or philosophical. Scientists know that a human life begins at conception and the unborn child is living and continues to develop with a unique genetic constitution, which is their DNA. The reason we celebrate birthdays is cultural and has nothing to do with science. Since you claim that the unborn fetus is simply a clump of tissue, then why is it that there is a law called the Unborn Victims of Violence Act, which recognizes a child in utero as a legal victim if they happen to be injured or killed at any time of their development? Even though many people naturally think about rape as a cause of an abortion, the truth is really that many women around the world use abortion as a type of birth control. Although there are times that a woman will get an abortion to get herself out of a dangerous situation, that is hardly the case these days, and there are statistics to prove so. By 1998, 43% of abortions were repeat abortions. Last year, there were at least 1.3 million abortions performed in the U.S. I say at least because this is only the number of documented abortions, and there are countless numbers of undocumented abortions. Less than 1% of these 1.3 million abortions were for reasons such as rape or incest, 7% to protect the woman's health. These are the only percentages given by the abortion advocates, and they fail to mention the other 92% of the abortions performed and their reasons. It is understandable that people may worry that if abortion is made illegal, many back alley abortions will occur. However, people must remember that an abortion is a surgical procedure and it still puts women at serious emotional and physical risk, even though it is considered legal. Besides that, women suffer many post-abortion complications, like I stated before, such as cervical damage, which may lead to miscarriages and future desired pregnancies. Also, ever since the Supreme Court ruled that abortions are legal, there have been hundreds of women that have died from what abortion advocates insist on calling safe and legal abortions.
We're always going to argue about abortion. It's a hard choice and is controversial. And that's why I am pro-choice, because I want people to make their own choices, which was said by Hillary Clinton. Laws against abortion do not stop abortion. They simply make it less safe. The beginning of a person's life is when they become aware, just like the end of a person's life is when their sentence ends. The person that is you or me begins and ends with the beginning and end of our awareness. It does not matter how long our bodies survive after death, and it does not matter how long our bodies exist before consciousness. Our sentence starts when we are born. Before this, no person exists, and there's nothing wrong with terminating a pregnancy at this point. It does not kill a person, it prevents one from being brought into existence.